Sir Charles.
Miss Max, we back.
And there's a little theme music playing in the background, Miss Max.
It's the questions.
It is the question.
Yes.
And our good friend and colleague Nino just couldn't sit still. We said, Nino, what's wrong? She said, I got a question. I want to ask Miss Max a question. No.
I was going to say.
Remind us that there is quite a hot topic that she says people want to know what we think, and so she got something to ask Max. What you got, Nina?
All right, Max. So a hot topic that's going on right now and recently is there's this guy that's named Dalton Etherly, also known Chud The Builder, is known for and that he'll walk down like popular downtown areas and essentially antagonize or provoke a reaction out of people of a different race than him.
Now, people of different race or black people?
Black people.
Okay.
So just saying.
Yeah, he's mainly focused on degrading black people.
Right.
So, that being said, what's recently happened in the last 2 weeks that's transpired is he was arrested, I think about 2 weeks ago for being inside of a well-established restaurant and being racist towards the waiters, the staff. Who were black is why I say it's multiple races.
Female staff?
No, male staff. Okay. I think they were like either Italian or Indian. It was a grainy video. I think it was one of both. So, anyways, he was kicked out of that establishment. They were professional in telling him, because it was live streamed, so there's clips of it online. He was told to please leave. We're not going to continue to serve you. After he had already gotten his food and ate most of it. He took that upon himself to say, oh, okay, you don't want me to keep talking to you how I want to talk to you and pay you this bill, then I'll just walk out without paying. Thought he gained cool points for that, but not even about 10 or 15 minutes later, police had been called to find him for basically dining and dashing. He was arrested then, got a reasonable bail, and was out fairly like in 24 hours. So fast forward to this, last week, he was at court for that situation. On his way out of court, outside the courthouse, he got into another confrontation with a group of African American people. And doing this this is just clearly hearsay because people who were there are saying this happened. That he antagonized them.
Probably.
Yeah, which is based on his character, if you know it, that's exactly what happened. But when he did that, the African American gentleman, essentially told him, like, don't come over here with that. Don't, like, we know who you are, we know what you're about, we don't want to do it. He walks away, but then comes back and does it again. At that point,
like calling him
the N-word. The level of I don't care he has, and you're already clearly on bail release or whatever they call it. You have a bond to not do these certain conditions. So when that happened, I don't know it's not clear who threw the first punch or what, but they got into a confrontation where he then shot the African American man. Shot him twice, but also wounded himself. So a day, not even, because everybody was on it, had went by, and everybody's trying to figure out, even though it's not right, when we all want to see Dalton, Chud The Builder, be in trouble, we still need to know as people, like, who threw the first punch or who antagonized who. And that just goes to show, I think, in my eyes, how reasonable, no matter how racist you are, how reasonable our people still are. Like,
Yeah, very empathetic.
Yeah, like, you're wrong, but clearly, self-defense is self-defense, So come to find out, what's just recently come out, is that people are saying he had already had his weapon drew while approaching before a punch was thrown, which is why now he's gotten arrested for attempted murder, brandishing of a firearm. This
Okay, so the gentleman did not die. To be clear.
No, yeah, the gentleman did not die. So I was like praying that was the case, that he didn't die. So we'll definitely get both sides of the story. It's not just gonna be, a one-sided story from a racist man. So
right.
I just wanted to know, I summed all that up to say, how do you feel about Max? How do you feel about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, right to bear arms, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, assembly.
It's a lot going on up in there.
Yeah. As far as it goes, of course you have the freedom of speech. That's why we are able to do what we're doing on the show. But how far are people willing to take? Yeah, how far are people able to take that before they get the reaction that they're looking for, and then there's still consequences to that?
All right. Well, say this, and then Charles and I dialogue about it. But one of the things that came to mind, several things came to mind as you were speaking just now. I do think that times have changed, are changing, and it brings into question what truly are our constitutional rights and how those things exercised and threatened. And I say that because when you talk about this guy clearly abusing his, can I say abusing? Clearly exercising his constitutional right to freedom of speech in every way imaginable.
Abusing.
Think about locally here, those folks that stand on the side of our city streets and hold signs that or have some racial, political connotation that are clearly offensive to some people group, right? Or when we listen to a press conference that the president is having and he is shutting down or insulting a journalist because of their questions to him. And they have the right to express their opinion and ask their question, right? But he pushes back against those things. And as we know, has gone as far as when he can legally, illegally block some journalists from being able to even attend his press conferences. Another thing that really comes to mind is let's think about our local government and our council meetings. And there are folks that come to the podium to address city council during, a community matters portion of the meeting. And they may say some unsavory things, but the council is always treading on the line of what can they legally, these folks be able to say publicly right here at a council meeting, and what is the line, where's the line of when they cross those boundaries, if there is one, and how do we stop that? So yeah.
So essentially, piggybacking off of the examples you were using, Charlie Kirk is a very vibrant example of having that freedom of speech,
right,
but also it having consequences. His freedom of speech, he knew he had the freedom of speech to say what he's saying.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, mainly about your delivery of how you're saying something. Of course, your meaning behind it, and how repetitive you are with that view that you're saying or you're projecting out into the world that could ultimately have and raise those consequences each and every time you say it. So I completely believe in the First Amendment because, that gives you the right to, it gives you the right to have speech, religion, press. And I watch, side note too, I watch a thing all the time on YouTube. It's called First Amendment Auditors who go around and exercise that First Amendment right to press and record outside of, on the sidewalks or streets or outside of a bank to kind of get law enforcement there to see if they know what they took an oath to, their constitutional rights. And the reason why I'm hooked on that is because about 85% of them don't. They think they can arrest you for exercising that right that you swore an oath to. Protect me and my rights, So that being said, I'll say that because, of course, everything has consequences, but it's kind of like, why do you want to put yourself in this box and these other people in the box when we have all the same rights? But why are you like? It makes you so angry when you think about that's what you're choosing to do with the rights that someone fought for us to have. You know,
I mean, I have to think that when the United States was given this First Amendment right to freedom of speech, it was in the spirit of, and we all know differently, but it was in the spirit of allowing the citizens of the United States to be able to say how they think and feel without any type of repercussion. Now, granted, people have always tried to censor that when it comes to people, the minority exercising that right, and the form in which they choose to exercise it. I guess all that to say, this really calls into, and I have to go here with my response, the character, I would say, of the United States, of the people that are using this right to spew hatred and bigotry and evil and division, throughout this country. I don't know that is what it was intended to do, but it is the cloak that they hide behind in order to like I said, spew evil that does nothing but continue to tear this country that's, in my opinion, in some morally hanging on by a thread and bound together by a thread, but to continue to destroy us and separate us. I do not. It is sad to say, because I'm interested to learn how you came about learning who this particular guy is, but it is sad that the thing that gets clicks and views and follows are the hateful stuff, death, different things like that. And I think what we as a society need to make a conscious decision to not give those things the platform and allow them to win in that way, where we are following and giving light and a platform to those things that at the end of the day really do tear down us as a group of people and individually as well. So
yeah. Can I chime in? I know we're out of time. Can I chime in real quick? So there's a couple key points that come to mind. It's like, I find it sort of bittersweet at Nino's response to why would someone use their freedoms that way? Because what I find a lot of time in younger generations, including Nino's generation, is that, and as they should, I feel like every generation wants to feel like that they're post-racial, like, until racism hits them. And so I think that's a natural response, and that's a normal response to be like, why would you use that way? Right? But then us who has maybe some more experiences within that realm realize that, some people are just evil, and that's why they do it. It's inherently evil, and we got to be honest about it, right? And so into Max's last point too, I'm curious about his celebrity status, because I don't even want to watch it for the simple fact of I want to give this dude no more attention. Exactly. So that's a great question, Max, of how are people finding out about him? Like, did he start off like a Charlie Kirk to where he was just so outlandish that so many people were just interested and curious to see what he had to say, and a lot of people were just laughing, but he still gained celebrity because it was entertainment to some people, while some people took it deathly serious. So these are the things that I think about this guy, and we know we have a coward in chief right now who is giving his bravado to people. Right. That's the other thing. That's the scary part. That's one thing that we as community and people need to be aware of. We need to be vigilant. Head need to be on a swivel. Because I feel like this dude is nothing compared to what we could see with more and more people who feel like that their president is their savior, and they're willing to do and say anything because they feel like that he's emboldened them to do so.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and I say my comments also say that I completely understand that there are individuals out there who believe I have this right and I'm going to use it to say any and everything that I want to say and find no qualms with what this particular guy, this influencer is out there doing. But I think back to your original question though, but you don't get to choose the consequences.
Right. Yeah. Rights versus consequences.
Right. Yep. And I think that can only end a few different ways, right? And it's sad that that's the predicament that we find ourselves in. But you don't get to choose. You're free to choose to make your choice, to make your decision, but you are not free to choose the consequences.
Yeah, and so when he was a couple points, but so when he was, I'll take it back a little more. How I discovered him was completely unintentionally. That's how you discover things now. They'll pop up on your For You page or whatever. So how I discovered him was actually not by watching him at all. I want to make that clear. I do not watch him. I don't intend to. Anything that up until now that I've seen about him was people agreeing on what we're saying and maybe posting something like, he just did this. Like, can you guys believe that? And so I actually had seen it a couple times, but I was like, Charles was like, I don't want to see that. And it's like, I already know how, like I'm just fueling the fire or making myself angry if I even watch it. So then I think finally I just watched one of them because it had said that he was almost about to get arrested. So I'm like, oh, this is my favorite part of the movie. This is before, I'm like, oh, so then I did watch it. And I was like, I couldn't believe he was saying and doing the things that he was actually doing and just going back home and surviving and having a good night's sleep. And it sucks that you have to think that way. It's like, man, he talking like that for this long, this crazy way. Like the first thing like our generation goes to is, how is he still breathing? Right. Which isn't fair, because, you don't want someone to die, but it's kind of like you get so angry. It's like, dang, is that my last boiling point? Right. And it wasn't even said to me, and that's how angry it makes me. So I can only imagine people who don't even have that train of thinking or thought what they actually really want to do to that person.
Right. But you know what, Nino, the rules of a bully are still the same, right? Whether we're talking about school-age children, kindergarten, preschool, or adults, they are still the same. This is a form of bullying. And when bullies get responded to, it generally teaches them how to treat that person, right? So he's at least found out, even through that situation and the other guy getting shot, he's at least found out that there are some people that you cannot run your mouth to. They're like willing to take that bullet. And now that individuals know that he is armed and will shoot, how do you think that's going to turn out? That person who may encounter him next time, now knowing that, how do you think that situation may turn out? Exactly. Because they know what he's likely to do, so they have to make sure that they're protecting themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Egoff, one of our listeners and viewers here, who said it's freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences from your speech.
Right, for sure.
Right?
That's very true.
Because there's a 28th Amendment a lot of people forget about. It's called the right to whoop ass.
If you get me down to that last one, I gotta use it.
Yeah, I got no. I mean, thank you for that. It was a timely question, Nino.
Nino getting comfortable behind that mic.
Yeah,
y'all gotta stop trying to put me. I got stuff to work on while y'all keep throwing me in front of this.
What are your people like? Your people, and I mean that by your age group. Group. What are y'all saying?
We're saying what I just said is how has he even been still breathing this long, and how is he safely, like someone should have been done the 28th Amendment, and put belt that so and then we also, but I do want to make a serious point, is that the reason why, back to what I was saying, is that we say how is he still breathing, because we don't have faith in the justice system. We realize our first thought isn't, man, how is he not in jail yet?
Right.
It's always we only have between that and that is either someone beat your behind or you in jail, which we don't have any faith in. The only thing we feel like we really have faith in is what we can control and do, and it may be outlandish, but it's a response to their outlandish, actions or whatever. So I think that needs to be a point made too, is that you're not hearing nobody, at least my age, saying, if he wasn't arrested right now, it's like, why he ain't in jail? Why he not in jail? No, that's not what they're saying. they're wondering why.
Try with me.
Yeah. They're wondering why. Let him come across me.
Right.
I know I'm looking at this from on the phone, but
Mm-hmm.
and one more point. I'm sorry. One more point too is that after, when I mentioned he was arrested that first time for the restaurant incident, he spoke and said when he was arrested for that, he was actually questioned for like 12 hours by, you gotta look around when you say these 3 letters, the FBI, but he was questioned by them because they had been watching what he's doing, and he expressed that they told him, this is either gonna come out of two instances. Someone's gonna kill you, or you're gonna kill someone, and you're gonna have to live with that. And there's gonna be riots. There's gonna be, because he had that much people watching what he was doing. That, and of course, there's people who agree with what he's doing. If they're gonna riot against, us African Americans, or we're gonna riot if, for God forbid, he killed this black man that he did a week later after they just talked to him about it.
Right.
So they tried to have that talk with him before this incident even occurred or was in fruition. And was basically, they seized all of his devices to try to put a stop to it as much as they could within the rights, but clearly it didn't work. He got right back out and did the same thing, and now people are, clearly upset. And that's all I just want to say. I'm glad the African American dude is alive. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. I just keep calling him that, but because that definitely would have had a different impact on what we would have done, as a community. So
thank you for that, though, Nino.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So don't go anywhere. Of course. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. More conversation on In My Humble Opinion after the break.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, We want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.